Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Tuesday, the 10th of December, and let's have a quick look at Microsoft. That was higher a little bit against the trend yesterday, or the overall trend where the market was a little bit down. We had Microsoft. We have talked about it several times that on the weekly chart it has formed this potential shoulder pattern, but it has now been cancelled. It didn't play out with the close above the right shoulder. Then the shoulder pattern has been cancelled, and we can remove all these, and we can see, well, we will see it pushing higher. It has resumed uptrend. The RSI on the weekly is about to break above 60 threshold. Hasn't done it yet, but it is still in a positive sentiment, and I think it will do that fairly soon. We can see here on the daily it pushed higher. It is in a positive sentiment, no divergence or imbalance on the daily chart. Microsoft is likely to push higher here in towards the end of the year, and possibly also into the new year. So fairly strong for Microsoft there. On the overall market, on the S&P 500, a little bit correction yesterday, and I think we should just focus on the daily chart. We'll see we are most likely in a correction phase here, and could drop down to around 6,000, maybe a little bit more, but at least fix out 6,000, I think, here the next few days before I think we will still see a market turnaround. We are still bullish. There's no divergence on the RSI, which is in a positive sentiment, so there should be a further upside potential pre-market, and not really much that has changed. On the Nasdaq 100, I think we will also see a correction, possibly down to the 38.2 here at 21,125. Don't think it will be much more than that. We're still in a bullish trend, and I think we'll push higher in the towards the year end. Dow Jones also in a correction phase. It's been in a couple of days, actually started last week. 44,256 is likely to be reached, and I think we could see a little bit of a bounce. There's a little bit of divergence here. We can see these values here are lower than over here, and it's best illustrated by actually doing a trend line. I would suggest you do it yourself. See, we're slightly declining there on the RSI values. And this morning here in Asia, in Hong Kong, Seng Index, quite interesting, opened just above 21,000, and then sellers just took control throughout the session and pushed it back to the 20,321 support. The RSI did close just below 60 threshold yesterday, and it didn't close above today either. So we are still in a negative sentiment. It does look like it is above, but it's not. It's actually just below right there. So we are still in negative sentiment. So keep an eye on what's going on in the next couple of days. If it slides back below the cloud, it didn't close above here. So if it slides back below the cloud, it could mean that the selling pressure will continue coming days. But it needs to take out the today's peak at 21,025 for upside potential towards 21,600 level and higher. EUROSTOXX 50 just spiked above 5,000 yesterday. I think we will see a correction there also. What I will do, I will add a Fibonacci retracement just to give me an idea how much it could actually do. But I think I'm not quite sure it'll get all the way down to 48.85 level there, the 38.2 retracement, but I think we could see a dip below 49.50 and support here at 4900. But in this region here, we could see a correction down, but it is in an uptrend, and I think in the coming days and weeks, it will continue higher above and close above 5,000. We are above the cloud. We are in a positive sentiment. No divergence on the RSI. Pre-market, really not much going on. It's basically just around the current level or closing level from yesterday. There's still a potential for a little bit of correction at least. So keep an eye on that, but we are in a bullish trend, and it has been DAX that has been the strongest ones, but now it's formed this yesterday bearish candle there, sellers has taken control, and I think we will see a correction lower, possibly down to 20,000. I'm not sure if we'll get down to 19,831 if we measure from that level of the entire stretch, but could also be the last leg up to 19,958, meaning just around 20,000. That will be the most likely outcome for a correction, and then higher towards the end of the year. Pre-market a little bit lower, but not much. But I think we will see that correction play out. And what I will do, I will adjust this also to the last strong leg up there, and 19,964 could be seen. CAC, very interesting. Yesterday, where it actually tried to close this gap, it actually closed it with the spike up, but it never closed above. So it needs to close above 7,511 to close this gap area with a proper close. I think it will occur, but I think we'll see a little bit of a setback before it occurs, and then close above 75.11. Because we are in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence. I think we'll see CAC 40 push higher also towards year end. While there's been some interesting moves in the stock market, the FX market overall has been fairly muted. Euro dollar past few days really didn't do anything. There's still this potential inverted shoulder head shoulder pattern, but it really needs to close above the neckline here, and it would be good to confirm it also by a close above 106.10 for a push towards 107.60, possibly higher, but then we have all the moving averages coming down. So maybe it will be cancelled. Let's see about that. If it takes out the right shoulder at 104.60, then this potential pattern here will be cancelled, and we can delete it all, and then your dollar is resuming downtrend below 104 to 103, possibly lower. Cable sterling dollar also fairly quiet in a correction phase. I think it could resume downtrend here and try to push it back to 126.15 level in this region here. If it takes out this low here at 126.16, well, then expect another push towards the 125. Excuse me. Euro sterling still once again yesterday tested the 82.70 support. It spiked a little bit below a couple of times. We are in a negative sentiment, so it should push lower, but there seems to be some interest just around 82.70, which can make it bounce a little bit up to the upper falling trend line in this wedge-like pattern. Dollar yen testing resistance at 151.45, just below the 38.2 retracement of this sell-off here, or this correction phase here. We are in a bouncing mode. We have the 55 trying to push it higher, but we have the 100 trying to drag lower, so a little bit of fighting going on. I still believe we could see it push higher towards the 152.70, 153.25. We are still above the cloud, but we are in negative sentiment. So there's a little bit of battle going on here at the moment, but I do favor the correction a little bit higher. Could actually take it all the way up to the 61.8 at 153.65 if it really gets its mojo back. However, if it takes out 149.40 once again, then I think it will also take out this low, this spike low here, and we'll see it pushing towards 147.20. Euro yen also still in a bouncing mode towards the 38.2 at 160.19, 160.20, and I think it will be reached today. There is potential higher up to the resistance here at 161.90, maybe all the way up to the 61.8 retracement at 162.67. Negative sentiment on the RSI, and there's no divergence indicating it's merely just a correction. We're also below the cloud, meaning that we are overall in a bearish trend, but we are just in a correction phase. It's just a question about how much it can move from this bounce down here. So moving on to Aussie yen. Aussie yen also in a correction phase, didn't get all the way up to 98, tested the cloud level, got rejected here once again at the 40 threshold, and in the negative sentiment likely to move lower. It should still have had potential to push a little bit higher, but if it takes out 95, 95.47, 95.50 here, well then expect it to slide lower to 93.65. The sterling yen also in a correction mode, obviously, could push higher. We got almost up to 193.70 resistance, and but there is potential that it could push higher to the 61.8, because what we often see when we see corrections in the FX market, it should usually go to the 61.8, and here in this case 195.41. But if it does that, it will probably just be a spike up and then a setback, because we have the 55 and the 200 moving average really giving it a hard time up here, overhead resistance, and the 100 is declining, and we are still not closed above the cloud. So we are in a bearish trend, but it is in a correction phase. Aussie dollar has still in a bearish trend, support at 63.60. I think it will push lower. If it takes out that, well, then we have room down to 63 and 62.70. On dollar Canada, that is possibly the most interesting moves lately, where we have the dollar Canada pushing higher. Now it's very close to testing 142. There is potential higher. There's still divergence on the RSI, as you can see here. The values are declining, but it did break above the falling trend line, indicating we could see higher levels towards 143. I don't think we'll get all the way up to 143 just yet, but we can see also what kind of range it's broken out of. And if we zoom out here, we can see, well, we are up here in this region here between 142 and all the way up to 146.70 actually. Whether we'll get there is debatable, but we can see that we are in a bullish trend short term and medium term. Sterling Canada also pushing higher towards its 181.50 peak there. I think we'll get it there because we are in a bullish trend. We are in a positive sentiment, no divergence. We should see a push up there, and then a setback. We should see a correction down to 180. EURUSD still testing this 92.70, spiking below, close below, above, sorry, spiking below. But it is in a bearish trend. I mean, no question about that. It's just, it seems like there's some really strong support interest here around current levels. And if it bounces and it takes out the spike up here from a couple of weeks ago at 93.63, well, then it could push up to test the falling trend line there. But we are in a bearish trend, and if we look at the bigger picture on the weekly, we can see what's actually going on. There's some strong interest down here to not push it lower, but let's see if it could take out those levels. Dollar Swiss, if it upstays here, we are dollar Swiss, and let's zoom in what's actually going on. I know there are a lot of trend lines on my chart, so let's see what we can do. We have this rising wedge that is broken bearish arrow. Now it's in a falling channel-like pattern. A lot of activity, quite volatile intraday, but it doesn't really move anywhere at the end of the day. And we caught this between 87.50 and 88 and a change on the upside. There's still positive sentiment on the RSI, but there was divergence. As you can see, the values here were declining. So we are in a correction phase that could potentially take it down to around the 87 level, just below that, where we both have the 786 retracement of this leg up here, and we have the 50% of the entire leg up here. I think we'll still get there, but it is fairly strong support here around 87. If it moves back above and actually takes out the upper falling trend line here, then a trend is likely to resume and push it higher. The dollar index is slowly pushing higher above this falling trend line, but it's merely a gap line. It's not that strong. What will be key? Can it get back above 106.73? If it do that, then there's potential higher back to 108. The correction phase is over, and we are likely to see higher levels. If it takes out that little spike down there on the 6th of December at 105.41, then I think we'll see it pushing below 105. Activity in golds that was almost all the way down to 2600, didn't get there, but then back up to the 61.8 retracement at 26.77. Little bit of setback, still close below the 55 moving average, still in a negative sentiment. It really needs to close above 60 threshold on the RSI to get into a positive sentiment. I think that will occur if we can get the the gold to close above 26.77, and if it does, well, then we are back in the bullish trend. We are still we're in a neutral in the cloud here, but it never closed below, spiked below a couple of times, so we are still underlying in a positive and a bullish trend in terms of the cloud. It's just we need to confirmation on the RSI. I think we'll get there. I think we are still in a bullish trend, and it will be confirmed if it can get back above 26.77. Silver broke its resistance yesterday at 31.54.55. Moved all the way up to the 50% of this downtrend here. So it's actually formed a kind of a double bottom pattern here that could give it potential. It could give it potential to at least the 33 level should get there, and possibly higher towards 33.45 if it can get back above the cloud area, and if it can close above 33, well, then there is a potential much higher for silver. But it's struggling now at the moment to push higher. If it slides back below the cloud and back below the 31.54, well, then we could see it sliding lower towards 30. But we can see here the moving average is starting to turn around, so I think we'll see it pushing higher in the coming days and weeks. Copper spiked up to just below 34.29.15 resistance. It needs to break above that and needs to close above it for really confirming the bullish trend, and that will also probably get the RSI back above the 60 threshold, and if it does that, well, it will further confirm that we are in a bullish trend with copper that could push higher towards 440 and possibly 450. Crude oil, still a key support, 66.72 here. WTI, that is key. It's still holding on. The Brent oil, well, same picture really. 70s, but 72, key support. Can it hold, or will it break it? Or will it bounce from it? Dutch TTF gas, on the other hand, interesting development, taking out support at 45.86, now trying to close this gap area here. And I think it will do that. 43.96. If it does close below it, then it will push lower towards 42.5 and possibly lower. But we could also see it bouncing off it, and then it will resume uptrend or bounce back above 43.35. If it moves back above 45.86, then I think we'll see uptrend resuming, but we are now in this double top scenario that is being unwinding, and there is potential lower. We had this abandoned baby-like pattern here that also indicated top and reversal, but it doesn't tell you how much it can actually reverse to. So this is the key level here, 43.96, that should be observed. US Henry Hub and natural gas bounced off the $3 and is still in a bullish trend or correction phase, actually. Little bit indecisive. We can see here on the wheel chart what's going on, that it tried to get up to this 364 resistance, but we are in a bullish trend, but it's a little bit indecisive at the moment. US Treasury yields still in correction phase, but it bounced off to support here at 414 and could resume uptrend. I think what I will do, I will do this. Let's have, if that was the bounce, let's see. And I know it is a bit cluttered, the chart at the moment, but bear with me. If it can bounce up to the 38.2 retracement at 427, which is close to this spike up here, then I think we'll see it resuming uptrend. And RSI, if it breaks above its falling trend line there, despite the fact it was actually negative sentiment, then I think we could see US 10-year Treasury yields resuming uptrend. There's some resistance here around 432. But we are above the cloud, so, and above the 55 moving average, so that'll be interesting. We are also currently just above the 200 moving average, but the jury's still out. Can it stay above that or not? If it takes out the lows here at 412, then 410, possibly down to 4%, and that would be key to what's will it get back below the cloud or not. The 2-year US Treasury yield also bouncing from the 38.2 retracement of 4.025, just above the 55 moving average here. Still a correction phase. Can it get back above? And I will also add here the Fibonacci saying, okay, if we assume the correction is over, then we could see a bounce up to at least 415 here short term. Key will be 420. Can it get back up there or not? The EuroBund future setback is, or correction is in the process, and I think we could see it sliding lower. First of all, could move all the way down to 134.29, but if you are really a short-term trader, you could also look at, okay, what's going on if it does this, and we can add Fibonacci to these levels here. Okay, first one is 135.70, 135.21 with the 61.8 retracement. UK gilts also sliding back the future here, support at 95.36. We are still in positive sentiment. Should have seen it pushing higher towards just around 97, but I'm not quite sure we'll get there. We can see the 55 moving average giving a hard time dragging it lower. Moving on to Bitcoin, let's just push that one. Bitcoin still caught here in the bullish trends. A little bit of a setback, still key support at 90,682. If it takes out that one, we could see a larger correction lower, but for now I think we could still see it crawling higher, despite we had a little bit of some call it a flash crash, I don't know, but it's just, to me, it's merely just a correction. What is interesting to see is that the RSI is back below 60 threshold. It's back below this rising channel trend line here. So is that a pre-warning? It could be a pre-warning for a correction, at least down to 90,680, but it could also be a larger one. We have the 55 moving average coming up here, giving some support. So we are still in a bullish trend. So let's see what's going on. But be aware there could be a little bit of warning there. And Ethereum, well, after touching 4,100, just below that, we had also a sell-off hitting it, pushing it below to 3,500. Really volatile there, also in terms of percent, but it has bounced strongly. We're still in bull trend, but we can see there's RSI divergence, so maybe we'll have a larger correction going on. So a little bit uncertainties here. If it takes out, and I will actually draw a horizontal line here and say, okay, if it takes out that level there at 3,500, then I think we'll see it pushing down to around 32.40, the 786 retracement of this uptrend right there. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, and talk to you again tomorrow.